Good. Okay, so let's move on now. So we have our next presenter today, who is Anurag Singh. He's the CMO of Amazentis Life Sciences, and hopefully Anurag's with us now. There he is. Hey, Anurag.
Okay. Well, thanks again to the organizers for inviting me in this prestigious conference. I attended last year, and it was a fascinating discussion. So happy to be back again and talk to you about what the work that's being done at Amazentis. So the first two presentations you saw were from the pharma perspective of tackling aging. What you'll hear from me is basically how we are taking advanced nutrition approach and targeting biological pathways by bringing the biotech approach to nutrition. And that's always been our vision as a company, is to sort of bring the biotech approach to nutrition and discover natural compounds that impart health benefits. So by disclosure, I'm the Chief Medical Officer of Amazentis SA, based out of Switzerland, that does commercialize molecules that I'll be talking about and sells products through a subsidiary called Timeline Nutrition. Yeah, our focus in the company, and it's always been very clear to us, sort of the first indication we wanted to go after is muscle aging. Why muscle aging? Because it's one of the first things in sort of the trajectory of human lifespan or health span that impacts your daily activities. So starting in your 30s, if you were to look at the time curve of muscle function over your sort of age and lifespan, in the 30s and around 20s and 30s, we are peaking in terms of muscle mass and strength. And from there onwards, you start to lose about 10% muscle mass and strength every decade, and then it accelerates after the 60. Now, if you're eating right, if you're eating a healthy diet and you're exercising regularly, you can easily follow the green trajectory here. So you can, let me just bring my pointer here. You can end up pretty nicely, and at 80, 90 years old, you can still go about your activities of daily living and have a robust health span. Now, if you know, over time and during the aging process, if you are not eating right and you're leading a sedentary lifestyle, you can end up pretty much in the sort of declining mobility and the unhealthy zone, and that's where you lead to sort of conditions that you'll hear pharma companies talk about, such as sarcopenia and frailty. But that's not where Amazentis as a company wants to be playing. We don't want to be playing when the damage has already happened. We want to be giving people and targeting early on the sort of muscle degenerative process, and that's sort of targeting the healthy aging platform. Okay, so from muscle aging, our key focus in our company, how to impact muscle aging is acting through mitochondrial health. Why mitochondrial health? Mitochondrial dysfunction is one of the key hallmarks of aging. Mitochondria are these sort of, powerhouses of the cell, energy providers that are key to existence of basically all kinds of cellular and organ function. And so as you look here, the most organs that have the highest abundance of mitochondria, such as muscle, heart, kidney, eye, or brain, these are the organs that are most susceptible to the degenerative process as we age. And so we have focused on the muscle, and we are targeting sort of improvements in mitochondrial health. And again, back to this point of why mitochondria, as we age, if you're an active, exercising, eating right sort of 70-year-old, if you look at the mitochondria, they're all very round and nice and healthy and pumping ATP. But if you're not, and you're sort of struggling to move around and moving around with a stick or in a wheelchair, and you do a biopsy and you look at the mitochondria, these mitochondria look really bad. They're not communicating well with each other. And we've run studies ourselves where we looked at 70-year-olds in Netherlands who are exercising, like an hour every day versus those who are not have a very sedentary lifestyle. And we look at the mitochondrial function through imaging technology, and we can see that their mitochondria take much longer to recover after an exercise, whereas compared to the active elderly at 70, they are a very homogeneous group, and after exercise, their ATP and their muscles comes back very fast. And so that got us in.
Anurag, sorry to interject. Any way you can maximize your slides to presentation mode?
Yeah,
Love
sure.
to see your data more closely. Sorry about the interruption.
This is better?
I think it's minimum. Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So moving on, how did we come to our natural compounds that we work on currently in the company? One of the molecules that we started working with, we started to deconstruct the pomegranate. And why the pomegranate? Because the pomegranate has classically been associated with a lot of health benefits through, I guess, human history. And we started looking at the pomegranate in terms of what are the natural active compounds within the pomegranate. And we found that there's these polyphenols called ellagitannins. But what we started noticing was these ellagitannins need an ideal gut microbiome. So not everybody is eating the right berries and nuts and drinking a glass of pomegranate juice every day. And even if you are, you need to have the right gut microbiome to generate these gut microbiome metabolites. And one of them we focus on is a molecule called urolithin A. So we have in our studies, which we have published, we see about 30 to 40% of the human population, depending on different geographies, has the natural capability, but that capability again is in a very variable range. And the rest, I can tell you, I am a non-producer myself. I can drink 6 liters of pomegranate juice and my body, my gut microbiome won't produce the molecule. So we need supplementation. And that's where we get into the effects of this molecule. So Amazentis has been working on this for the last 10 years, almost over a decade. We discovered this molecule in partnership with the Swiss Institute of Technology, the EPFL here in Lausanne, where we work closely with Professor Johan Olbricht, who's a big name in the mitochondrial research field. And Johan started putting urolithin A in aging assays, such as the worm longevity assay, where he saw about a 45% increase in worm lifespan, and that led to giving it in the oral supplementation and the diet of old rodents, where we saw about in 6 weeks supplementation, about a 60% increase in aerobic endurance capacity. From there, we have run and we are about to publish human efficacy intervention trials where we have shown that given for 4 months in an untrained population that is sedentary, this molecule urolithin A can improve statistically muscle strength. And now we have commercialized these products in the US after FDA approval for food nutrients that is in the process called GRAS. And so we sell both food products and dietary supplements across US, and we are expanding outside US as well. Back to the mechanism of action, how does urolithin A work? It activates selectively mitophagy. What is mitophagy? So if you were to look at the lifespan of a mitochondria are formed early on through a process called biogenesis. And over time, over aging, they accumulate free radicals through oxidative stress, etc. And they start looking these kind of crummy mitochondria. And then they go to this process of looking really bad and damaged mitochondria that accumulate in the cells over time. And this has been shown. So think of it like a garbage bin. If you're not cleaning your garbage bin, your sort of whole efficiency of recycling is disabled. And that's what happens with aging in mitochondria, especially in the muscle and probably in other organs such as brain. And so what urolithin A does is it activates this cleaning up, garbage removal of the bad mitochondria or the dysfunctional mitochondria through a process called mitophagy, in which they're packed in bags, and then ultimately they are recycled back to biogenesis and providing sort of the building blocks of near healthy mitochondria. So till date, how does our program look like? We have run a number of double-blind placebo-controlled studies, totaling about 350 subjects to date. This is a natural molecule. That's the beauty of working with natural compounds. We've never seen any safety or adverse events linked to it. It has an excellent safety profile. We have done studies in young people, in middle-aged people, and in old people, and everywhere we have seen consistent bioavailability. There's no food effect. We have published quite a lot of this data recently in Nature Metabolism and European Journal of Clinical Nutrition. I'll be quickly talking about 3 trials. Trial 1, which was done in elderly who are sedentary, where the supplementation was for 4 weeks. We have published this, and I think I've shown this before as well. And then I'll be talking about newer data from 2 recently completed trials that hopefully will be published in the next few months, one in middle-aged sedentary and one in older population. So yeah, this is the data after 4 weeks. The way to really find a signal of efficacy early on in a sort of a clinical development program is to do muscle biopsies if you're really looking at muscle mitochondria. And so here are muscle biopsies. Here on the right, if you focus, are biopsies from a non-interventional trial. So I'm just showing you in comparison. On the left is the sedentary population, 70-year-olds, and the right is the active population of elderly who are 70-year-olds. what you see in the color scheme to read and looking at, this is basically looking at gene expression of mitochondria in the human muscle. And the way to read it is blue means your mitochondria are not looking in great shape, so the expression is downregulated, and red means you're activating gene expression in the muscle. So exercise is clearly a mitochondrial stimulant, as can be seen. Years of exercise in 70-year-olds, their mitochondria look in great shape, and being sedentary, there's a lot of blue, which means that muscle mitochondria are not looking great. And then we did our 4-week intervention trial and compared before and after changes. And what you see is placebo doesn't do much. The population is 70-year-olds again, who are sedentary. When we give 500 milligrams of Urolithin A, which is also, by the way, trademarked as MitoPure, what you see is you're starting to activate the muscle mitochondrial signature, and 1 gram really induces a very robust mitochondrial health signature, similar to the biology that exercise is known to do as well. And from there now, we have just wrapped up 2 long-term clinical trials, one done in middle-aged 40 to 64-year-olds, about an average age was 52 years. They're a bit overweight, so the BMI was about 29. And when you put them on a sort of exercise tolerance test, they don't do well. They don't have a very high VO2 max. And we took these 90-odd individuals and we randomized them into 3 arms, and we looked at different markers of muscle and mitochondrial health. And what was very clear, so each dot is an individual subject, and you're looking at the change, delta change before and after the 4-month intervention. What you see is placebo didn't change. Actually, these are sedentary folks, so over time, they're even declining a little bit. But giving Urolithin A supplementation in this non-trained sedentary population for 4 months, we already getting very statistically significant improvements by about 10% of improvement in muscle strength. But not just that, we are seeing at the higher doses improvement in aerobic endurance visualized by peak VO2, and in the 6-minute walk test, which is a test often used to show aerobic endurance. So people are walking more, they have more sort of bioenergetics to go longer in 6 minutes. And from there, we took muscle biopsies in the same population to show that these improvements were linked to mitochondrial health. And we looked at protein expression. So genes can go up and down, and really what you need to nail down is the protein abundance of mitochondria. And mitochondria exist in different complexes, complex 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so we are looking here at protein expression, and what you see, blue is the placebo. We don't see much change. We're starting to see a little bit of increase in mitochondrial abundance with the 500-gram dose, but with the 1-gram dose of Urolithin A, we're really getting very significant increases in mitochondrial abundance with different complexes. So this is hopefully work that you will see published out soon. Another trial we just wrapped up, and I'll try to sort of move faster here, is in collaboration with the University of Washington, where Urolithin A was given in a double-blind placebo trial to 65 to 90-year-olds. And in this, what with the test that was done by the lab of Professor David Marcinek is he does a muscle fatigue test. So he wants to test, does the muscle have enough energy to sort of keep going longer? And so the way you do it is you put a sort of a coil, magnetic coil on a muscle that is key for hand grip. So this is the muscle in the hand, and then you put another one, a different muscle in the leg called the tibialis anterior, and you basically ask the muscle to keep contracting till fatigue. And that's what we did. We gave Urolithin A supplementation for 2 to 4 months. What you see is that the muscle, what we saw is that significantly improved, the muscle was more resistant to fatigue in the Urolithin A arm compared to placebo. And it's visualized here. There's a subject that I show you here. In blue is the contraction, number of contractions of the muscle in a placebo subject. 2 months after, which is in green, there's not much of a change. There is some sort of improvement, which is basically familiarity with the test in yellow. But with the Urolithin A supplementation, the muscle just has more energy to keep going longer to fatigue already at 2 months, and there's about a 20% improvement comparatively. So this is great data for us. We've also just published another trial. We are starting to understand how naturally this molecule is produced and how many percentage of people can actually make this from the diet. And so we did a test in the US where we took 100 people and gave them pomegranate juice. What we saw is only 12% people in the US population in this particular sample size had circulating levels of Urolithin A. And when you gave them a glass of pomegranate juice, about 40% of them can convert well. The rest don't, or do it very poorly. But when we asked them to come back and drink the supplement that we have, the food product containing the 500 milligram dose of Urolithin A, we saw that everybody had the plasma levels of Urolithin A, and there was about a 7-fold higher area under the curve. So the paper is published. We've also tried to study the gut microbiome of these people. And we are developing a test now. So you can actually, which hopefully there's a trial running, which if you want, you can write to me and I can sign you up. But hopefully the goal is that we commercialize this and you can test if you're a natural producer of urolithin A, and then you can take just one sachet and do another test 6 hours after and know. And this is my test, by the way, as I mentioned, I'm not a producer. I drank even 6 glasses of juice, and I can show you that I'm not a producer of urolithin A. And after taking the supplement, my blood levels, of course, rose to a very high level. We continue to raise the bar for nutrition research with clinical evidence. We're partnering with lead researchers in sports nutrition and in medical nutrition. And these are all studies. We have a global partnership with Nestle Health Science, which also licenses our compound. And so we continue to strengthen. We've launched this product, I think last year. We had just launched it when I came at this conference. And since then, there's been a tremendous interest in this product. People, athletes, astronauts, dietitians, biohackers, functional medicine doctors, they've all been impressed by what it can do and bring to the table during exercise and recovery, etc. And yeah, in essence, that's where I end. I did want to mention that we have a very seasoned leadership. Our CEO is a former venture capitalist who moved from a VC fund to start this company in his sort of garage, as they say. I'm again the chief medical officer, but we are guided by a board that includes really industry leaders who have across from pharma and nutrition, and we of course have Nestle representatives on the board. So with that, yeah, thank you for having me, and please visit timelinenutrition.com, and we have a whole range of products that feel free to see if it interests you to order it. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Anurag. So just a quick question for you: should people take this product continuously?
So the longer studies we have done is the 4-month study. So that's we will, as I showed you, we start seeing effects around 2 months on aerobic endurance and 4 months in strength and functional capacity. We haven't done studies longer than 4 months, but you know, it's a natural compound. It's like asking, do I want to eat a healthy diet for longer than 4 months? Of course you want to, because that's, you know, these are nutrients that are coming from healthy diet.
Great. And one last question from Michael Demon. The data published in Nature Metabolism and your Atlas and Energize trial data are quite encouraging. Do you have any data on broader metabesic outcomes? Also, what is the interaction between urolithin A and exercise? Additive or synergistic?
Yeah, so this is a question that has been on our minds as well, and that's why we are running this new trial with Professor Lewisburg in Australia with elite athletes, where we want to see if over top of exercise training, we can have an additive effect of urolithin A in these athletes who are always training. And now there's great publications showing that overtraining is actually inducing mitochondrial dysfunction. So it's an active area of research for us.
Great, Anurag. Well, best of luck with all your work, and thanks very much for joining us today.
Sure, thank you.